Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Hope everyone is fine. So today I thought of going live and discussing a couple of things with you guys because it's been quite some time I have been planning to come online. And finally, today is the day when I have decided to come online. And here we are. So guys, you can post your questions in the chat box. I shall be interacting you over here itself. Like if you have any sort of questions and you would like to know, so please do paste in chat box. I shall be happy to answer the questions, whatever you have. Hi Yogeshwar, good to see you, buddy. That you are online. And this is also kind of experience for me that I'm going live and I would like to see the particular experience that how can I interact with the people and answer their queries in real time. Guys, do you have any question? Want to discuss anything? I thought of discussing with some DevOps interview preparation tips and tricks. So how do you prepare for the interview? Mehraj Sayyed. Yes, definitely I can share. So the kind of Ansible questions which you may have to face. First of all, the very basic question would be like, how do you install? Second thing, what version of Ansible are you using? Third, the kind of playbooks have you written? The advantages of Ansible. And aside to that, if you are working as Linux administrator, then how do you integrate multiple servers in order to run Ansible playbook? So these sort of questions are going to be there. So that sort of things you will have to face during interview. Aside to that, the person would be interested like what recent playbooks have you written? And aside to that, the person would be interested in knowing what challenges have you faced, what kind of issues have you solved, or what kind of playbooks have you written in order to increase the efficiency of DevOps engineers. So that sort of question you will have to face. In case of like playbook writing, so like how do you define server block? How do you define like if you want to keep a server out of the like server block, like you have complete inventory and now you need to add a particular server in such a fashion that that particular server should be out of the place. So how do you manage that part? So that kind of thing you will have to face during that particular interview. If we talk about your Jenkins, so installation part will be there. Aside to that, apart from installation, you will have to face there that what kind of component you have used, what are the plugins have you used. So that sort of questions will be there for you during your interview. And aside to that, like what is multi-library module? How do you automate your Jenkins jobs? So that sort of steps are going to be there. Yes, there is some other question for how to avoid hard coding in Terraform. So when we are talking about like Terraform, like the question here is how do we avoid hard coding in Terraform? Okay, so there is a particular file known as var.tf. Within that, you can declare global as well as like sub variables, and you can consume those variables within your playbook. Hard coding is never a suggested approach. Reason being that while we are talking about automation, so this will restrict you from doing kind of that level of automation which you can actually achieve. So if you are doing that level of automation, if you are doing that level of scripting, so obviously that is going to restrict you by doing that. So hard coding is never recommended. Good to see you. I have gone through a lot of videos and they are really helped out. Hope you will do more videos in real-time examples. Yes, so we can do a couple of real-time discussion right away if you guys are interested and if you want to see that. So any question, guys, which you would like me to explain in real time on the top of AWS, a kind of scenario you have seen and you would want me to perform that. I would be happy to perform the practical right away before you guys. This is my AWS console and here we are. Like any sort of question you might have come across during your interview and you want me to explain that. Yes, guys, waiting for your questions if you have any. Class 9, what? Any question, guys? Please type in chat box. I will read it and I would try to answer right away. Okay. The nice question, Manoj Krishna. Explain about stickiness in load balancing use cases. How do we use it? Okay, wait. So let me create a load balancer first. And before that, I would like to create two EC2 machines. So the particular scenario is going to be like, let me demonstrate that you here. First of all, this is our ELB. This is our elastic load balancer. Let me increase font of it. Okay, this is ELB. Now, moreover, this is going to be ALB, application load balancer. This is on the top of AWS. And let us say that we have two EC2 machines here. This is first EC2. This is going to be our EC2 machine. This is going to be another ELB. Let me tell you that what are the scenarios we can have, and the particular question may be coming in different format as well. Like the person may ask you a different question. Okay, let us say if we have multiple EC2 machine which are put behind your load balancer, so what kind of algorithm you can use at the time of defining your process? Okay, so if I talk about algo, so what kind of algos we have on the top of AWS, I'll be showing in real time as well. So first of all, it is going to be your algo. Like what is it? First of all, it is going to be round robin. What is round robin? Let us say there are multiple users like user 1, user 2, user 3, and let us say one more user, user 4 are. There are 4 users. These users are trying to hit any domain, and that domain is redirected to load balancer. So when request will come from this user, so that request will be redirected onto this machine. Now next user is going to come, that request will be redirected to this particular machine, this EC2 machine. And the same way, if another user is going to request, so this load balancer request would be redirected to this particular one. So guys, this is how we are going to define this. So this is known as round robin. So when a user is going to request anything from here via this load balancer, so load balancer is doing only the distribution of request onto these EC2 machines. So this is very first algorithm, which is known as round robin. So irrespective of hardware, for example, it could be possible that this machine has maybe some big hardware, and kind of this machine has small hardware. This machine is serving a lot of connections. But what is happening here, guys, we need to understand that particular part. Load balancer will not understand the hardware compatibility, will not understand that how much hardware is there, will not understand the load, but based on the round robin mechanism, round robin algorithm, which is being used by this load balancer, this will keep on forwarding the request onto these machines. Right? Okay. Now, the very next one here is that is known as least connection, which is available on AWS. That is known as least connection. Now, what does that mean? This load balancer is responsible to distribute load or distribute request among these EC2 machines. So based on that distribution, this load balancer is capable enough to understand that how many connections are being served by individual instances, like this one, or this one. So whatever instance out of these three is serving less number of connections right now. So next request, let us say this is a new user and this is going to forward request to this load balancer. So whatever instance is serving less number of connections right now or has less number of connections right now, so next request will be forwarded in case of least connection. So this is not related to something like we are calling it round robin. This is known as least connection. So load balancer will analyze the existing connection of each machine, and then it will forward the request to another instances. Okay. So next here is, it could be possible that we may try to call the third option here is, which is known as weighted. So what does that weighted mean? It could be possible that these two machines are kept in one target group and this machine is kept in another target group. So I can define that 33%, like 33% request will go here onto this particular EC2 machine. And another type of request, like 33% request will be served here. And let us say, I can define that here like 66% request will be served onto these two machines, or maybe 67% request. So this is how we can configure it, and we can utilize the advantage of weighted mechanism. Now, the original question remains same. What is sticky session? What is sticky session or stickiness? So sticky session means, let us say this user hit this load balancer for the very first time, and user has come to this particular EC2 machine. Now this load balancer has a capability which can be used in order to identify that what are the particular parameter which this user is supplying, such as what is OS, what is browser, and what is browser version, what are the kind of cookies it is sending from browser. This load balancer will keep it with itself, and based on that cookie, so it will forward request onto this machine. We can define a particular TTL value onto this load balancer. So from 1 second to 7 days, it can define a kind of TTL. So using which we can wait for this user to return. And let us say we have defined a TTL of 30 minutes and this user is returning within 25 minutes, 29 minutes. Load balancer will easily understand that this is the returning user and request will be served from here. Now let us say if user is coming on 31st minute. So in that case, this user will be treated as new user, or as a fresh request should be treated from this user, and that can be forwarded to any of the instance. So this is the particular scenario of sticky session. I hope I made myself clear on that. So if we want to reuse the particular cookies in order to distribute the request onto the same machine where request has already been served from, so that scenario can be used here. Any other question, guys? Next question here is, how do we configure multiple microservices without with our Route 53? How does Route 53 sends request to write microservice? Okay. So Route 53 does not send request to write microservices. That is based on the particular kind of pattern which you create. Such as you have a Route 53 domain, and based on that particular domain, let me draw something for you for that as well. Let us say this is Route 53. This is Route 53 here. Now, what do you want? You want that this Route 53 should be sending requests to multiple microservices. So how do we manage microservice? Let us say this is there may be a particular website known as, let us give it a name as servergyan.com. This is a website which we have. For example, now this website has multiple features, such as very first feature here is login. This is our first feature known as login. Couple of components are missing in between. So I'll be rectifying that. This is login feature. Another feature here is, let us say it is card. Let us say third one is your product. Let us say next here is your, let us say checkout. Let us say another here is courses. So these are 5 different microservices. Now, how do we want that these particular should be forwarded to this request should be forwarded to this microservice? So what we can do here is, let us say there is a particular server which is running on port number 8081. This is a particular port number of login service. Now there is a microservice which is being used in order to serve login request, and that is running on port number 8081. So Route 53 does not accept a kind of port number. So what do we need to do here is, so Route 53 will accept all the requests either on port number 80 or port number 443. So these are the particular requests. And moreover, guys, keep this thing in mind. Route 53 is going to accept requests on your HTTP protocol, or it is going to resolve your domain name only. Instead, I must be saying. So these particular port number are whitelisted on the top of any load balancer. So why did I mention that here? Reason being, because either if you type in this particular browser URL, whatever I have opened here, so either it will look like HTTP or HTTPS, nothing else. So this Route 53 does not help us anywhere in terms of configuring port numbers or in terms of configuring our protocols, whether it is going to be HTTP or HTTPS. So what is going to happen in that case? We will need to have a load balancer here. Let us place an ELB. Now, based on this ELB, now we are going to define a kind of rule here. And what is the particular rule we are going to define? So it is going to be the very first rule is going to be here. Either it could be host-based routing. It could be host-based routing, or it could be path-based routing. Two types of routings we can do on the top of this load balancer, which is known as elastic load balancer, and especially in case of application load balancer on the top of AWS. Right, guys? So when I will define that if any request is coming, which has a particular like domain name, login dot servergan.com. If URL looks like this, like login.servergan.com, request would come either on port 80 or port number 443. Either it is, if it is HTTPS, so obviously that is going to come on port number 443. If that does not contain HTTPS, it is only HTTP, so request would come on port number 80. Right? So based on that particular requirement, based on that particular feature, what is going to happen here? We are going to see that request will be forwarded. And obviously there are two types of ports configured. First of all, it is known as listener and the particular port number for this particular microservice. So if a request is going to come in such a way that if request is coming onto this particular URL, which is https login.servergan.com, so that request will be forwarded here. So right now, guys, if you see, DNS is responsible to resolve the domain name and forward your request towards your load balancer. Route 53 is not performing any additional thing here. It is just resolving domain name against this load balancer. Now this load balancer is being used in order to identify the right track or right microservice where it is running. Now let us say that the card service, this is another service which is running, let us say, for example, on port number 8082. So if this URL gets modified, and if I see here card.servergan.com, if that is the case, and obviously request is coming either on this particular or these particular port numbers, so we are going to forward the request onto this particular one. Like if request is coming on card.servergan.com, then request will be forwarded here. The same way it will go for product.servergan.com. The same way it will go for your checkout.servergan.com, or maybe for courses.servergan.com. So based on the particular requirement, we can forward our request from this load balancer. One more thing I would like to highlight here, and obviously I'm supposed to do that. This is example of host-based routing. What could be path-based routing example here? So it could be like, let us say https://www.servergan.com/login. This is example of path-based routing, or it could be https://www.servergan.com/card. So if there is a particular path defined after domain name, that is known as path-based routing, which I was trying to mention earlier, or it is only domain name changing, like every time, like login.servergan.com, card.servergan.com, maybe it could be your product.servergan.com, checkout.servergan.com, courses.servergan.com. So in that particular case, it is going to resolve like. So guys, this is how we are going to define it. I hope I made myself clear. So it is load balancer which is going to handle our request, not the particular route 53. It is going to be used only for resolving domain name against the load balancer. So any question, any other question, guys, if you have? Guys, any other question? Okay, so Maharaj has another question here. How many AWS services we need to learn, particularly for DevOps? So if you talk about that particular segment here, like how many services do we need to learn? So guys, if you see the particular services section, so let me tell you, there are so many. First of all, the particular compute part, you need to learn, like it should be EC2, it should be your like complete EC2 section you need to learn here, such as your EC2, different type of EC2 machines, the purchasing options we have. Like you can see here the EC2 dashboard, global view. Then after your type of instances we have, what is the difference between launch template and launch configuration? And it is going to be spot request. the particular purchasing plan, like the difference between savings plan and reserve instances. After that, how do you manage AMIs? And aside to that AMI, you need to learn, like if you need to migrate your instances, how you're going to perform that. After that, you need to learn that how do you need to manage your performance of the particular servers, what kind of base architecture it is going to be, what are the different type of volumes do you have, what if there are unused volumes, that kind of scenarios are going to be there. Moreover, like if you need to migrate a server from one region to another, so what kind of permission should that snapshot have? So that sort of permissions you need to know. If you need to auto scale or if you need to take automatic backup of your servers, so you should be talking about lifecycle manager. How do you include your root volume within your backup? How do you exclude root volume? What kind of volume should be part of your lifecycle manager policy? That sort of component should be there, which you need to understand in order to become a DevOps engineer. Aside to that, look, your load balancer, complete component, what are target group, how many target group can be placed, how to attach new servers to existing target group, kind of. And obviously, when we are talking about like launch configuration and auto scaling group, so these sort of things you need to know. Aside to that, when we talk about other services, you should be knowing about containerization, your databases, especially RDS, you should be knowing. Then after, if you don't want to know about all, so at least like you should be talking about migration and transfer, network and content delivery. So within this, like you should be talking about API gateway, you should be talking CloudFront, Direct Connect, Global Escalator, Route 53, VPC, Route 53 application and recovery, like controller. These sort of components you should be knowing. Aside to that, security and identity management you should be knowing. Within that, like AWS Artifact, Certificate Manager, your Cognito, Detective, your Guard Duty, IAM. These sort of components you should be knowing if you want to call yourself that you are that you are ready to work as DevOps engineer. Now there is another question. So how it will going to resolve the for the subdomain? Okay. So all these particular subdomains will be created on this particular Route 53 only, and all the subdomains will be resolving to this application load balancer. For example, I'm going to host here. Let me copy this particular content. So I'll create one A record here. Let me make it a little large. I'll create A record here. And against this A record, this is going to be the domain value. And this will be pointing to myelb.amazon.aws.com. So what is this myelb.amazon.aws.com? This is the DNS name of this load balancer. Same thing will be applied for another one. I'll create another domain name. And what will I do here? I'll define here card. Card.servergan.com will also be pointing to same load balancer. Same thing will be applied here. Let us say checkout. Like all the domains should be pointing to this load balancer only. So this is how we are going to manage subdomain. So Vinayak says you have not answered my question. What is your question? I might miss have. Okay, that existing Terraform. Okay. So in order to create, whenever you apply any kind of component addition or removal, so whenever you will apply your Terraform file, so that is going to create that new component. But you need to understand that you have granted appropriate permissions for that particular component to be created by your Terraform script. Okay, there is another question here. There is one scenario, if my instance corrupted, how to troubleshoot and get it resolved? So there are two ways. So let us say if you have a particular instance which got corrupted, so if you have any AMI created out of it and when it was working fine, you can restore, you can directly restore from there. Otherwise, you can go to console and you can check the particular label of your error, what kind of error you are getting. And based on that error, you can easily define and you can easily configure your instance. But in that case, what will you do? You will have to remove the particular volume from your existing machine. You will have to attach that volume with newly created machine, and over there you will have to fix the issue. Otherwise, because we cannot take console access directly from this like AWS console. So that is why it is not practically possible to like repair your machine if it is corrupted. If it is corrupted, that needs multiple steps in order to fix the corrupted instance. Any other question, guys? So I thought of going live today for you and thought of having some like direct interaction with you guys. Guys, any other question? So I hope that is it for today. I would like to see you again, maybe tomorrow or day after. So I just wanted to see if people are interested to join the live stream. So guys, please comment on this video if you would like to see me once again online answering your question in real time manner. Thank you.